The idea was this. First, we're going to talk about language acquisition, and I'll talk about it, and then we'll see this. This is about art, language, culture, and everything. Language acquisition. The language is the most important characteristic of humans and live beings on Earth, or on Earth. We are the only creature that develop a language, and with the language, we develop ability to dominate the rest of the living beings. We are the only creature that has language, and it was developed eventually into the four skills we try to teach every time we teach a language. The other aspect that is very important in the development and maturity of humans is the use of the fingers of the hand. Every time you use these two fingers, hold a pencil or a pen, and write what you feel, think, or learn, your brain does a special activity. If you do this, it's not the same thing as if you do this. When you have a feeling and you put it in a paper, you really express what you think and feel. Hate, love, patience, etc., etc., etc. The problem is our students are not used to writing. Everything is becoming digital, and you have to push. You understand? The evolution of the human being started with the brain, as I just mentioned, developed into language, and then developed into writing. The first forms of writing are in rocks and caves. They make signs, symbols, images, etc. That expresses the moment they were living, the situation, and their feelings. Animals, plants, themselves, the river, the rain, the sun. Since that moment to the devices we are using now, many centuries have been going on. As I told you in the beginning, spoken language created certain aspects in the brain, or certain aspects in the brain enable people to speak. There are no other creature that can speak. You can tell me about a parrot, and a parrot only repeats, doesn't think, and make ideas and all that. When we teach a language, we must have these two aspects in our sense, or in our need to develop, because it will help our students understand better. When we are 0 years old up to 3 years old, the computer called brain is processing everything. What you listen, what you read, the colors, the people that are around you, everything. What is changing that is they put you in front of a screen so you don't have to, you're going to behave. They give you a cell phone so you will behave. They give you anything. And you start working with that. And your brain starts to develop abilities in that certain new world it is coming into. Children are born with different abilities. And whatever is in their environment is what they will use to learn. The most important thing when we teach a language is make it meaningful. When you have students who are already 5 or 6 years old, they have a huge amount of experience. And we try to put it into certain expressions and situations in the books that are too limited for what they already know. And with the electronic devices, the class seems to be very slow. Okay. Are you familiar with this man? French educator. Oh. And one of his quotes. What do you think? We are the result of the environment and the situations we start living from the moment we go out of the house, or even in the house. That's a result of what we are. But we are born with all the characteristics of humans and to be good. It is the changes, the fashion, etc., 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 what makes the change in people. And we're talking about the 17th. No electricity yet. Okay? France has been one of the best countries for educators. They have been the best educators also with the British, all over Europe and later all over the world. But they consider humanism a very important factor in the developing of people and persons. Now, I'm going directly to our class. We as teachers, no matter what level you are, no matter if you're private, public, university, pre-K, you have to follow a program. Why is this program? Because people create a certain amount of structures and situations they believe you can cover and develop in your students. Okay? Unfortunately, we see English as a subject, not as a language. English is a subject, and we need to teach structures. And that's a program, and we have to follow, because we are hired to do that job, and we try to do the job the best we can. But the class is seen as a subject. It's very different from history, math, and all the other classes. And besides, those other classes are more connected with certain reality. You understand? So, we have those two important aspects to cover. And most of all, we're trying to develop basic skills. Listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Okay? Now, at the end of the story, our students need to go to a token. No matter what level they are with you, at the end of the preparation, they'll have to be facing a TOEFL when they finish high school, when they finish university, when they want a scholarship, whatever they want to do in education, they use this kind of exam to give them a grade. What is the meaning of a standardized test or standardized exam for you? What is standardized?
What is the same for everybody?
Okay, same for everything, and what else?
Same language.
It's going to be in English, but why is it standardized?
Specific objectives.
Very good.
Specific rules.
Okay,
It measures specific skills.
very good. But you need to know the American culture when you get to the reading. If you look around, we have different cultural images that we're going to explain in a moment. But if you look at those buildings, do you know what city that is?
Chicago.
Very good. But you need to know the culture. If you have never seen it and you come to a TOEFL and there's a reading about the city, the buildings and this and that, it's going to be something different for you. But you have to know it and answer correctly in order to pass this. Now, this is something we don't do in public schools. We don't do much listening. We speak, and it's just the teacher, examples, and voice that gives the student a chance for listening. We don't work on listening in public schools yet. We work very much in grammar, little reading comprehension, and students don't like to do so. That's our problem in private schools, in public schools. It is different in a private school because they have English in all their classes, math, science, so they develop everything. Now, teaching a language, we need to develop and mature the basic skills. The teaching learning process must be meaningful. We need to change this process not to the grammar or not to the program, but how do you say, combine the program and make it meaningful. What is meaningful, or what does meaningful mean for you? If I say, Mary has a rose, the weather is hot. Those are sentences that maybe for our students have no special meaning. You get the point? We need to teach the sentence, but we need to give examples that really get to touch our students. This presentation is going to try to give you ideas of how you can use this in your classes. These aspects are part of our life, even if we believe it or not. Science, literature, culture, and art. Here we go. Okay, this is our sociological situation. Children start familiarizing with electronic devices before they go to pre-K. Many years ago, it was only television. Later, television and video. Later, DVDs and movies. Later, the phone. Later, the, how do you call it, the iPad. So before they go to pre-K, they have a lot of things they have seen and moved and learned. So by the time they come and sit down and look at the board, it doesn't work. We have that problem. But that's a social problem we can't change. This changed everything in this country. When mothers and fathers go out to work and children come and stay home alone, they don't study and nobody's aware of it. That changed a lot of things in their behavior, and now we're having problems in schools because we can't control the way children act. Because they don't have the supervision that they need in certain years of their lives. So this is another problem that is out of our control, but we're getting students every day. Children are alone on their own will. They do whatever they want at home. Study, read, sleep, eat, whatever. Oh, sorry. And teachers' authority is challenged by students and parents. We have a lot of problems in our public schools. I'm talking about this because I've been doing some research. And the teacher is not the authority anymore. They are challenged by the conduct of the students, and then parents come to school and support the students and not the teacher. All this give a bad result in what are we doing with our job. Okay? The classroom situation. We have a number of students attending the classes. There are too many. I wish I had a group this size in all my courses. I have to deal with more than 35, 40 students. I have 7 classes to teach. I need to grade papers. I need to control my students. This I can't change either, but it's my everyday situation. I have a lack of teaching materials and support in my classroom. That's why I can't use this, because I never use a computer to teach classes. Now, in the public system, English is only 3 days a week, 40 minutes. You take 10 minutes to calm them down, a few more minutes to check papers, so your class is reduced to 50 to 25 minutes, more or less. And this is a big problem. We have been fighting for 100 years to, and it's not an exaggeration, to change this part of the program. But in the public education law, a language cannot be taught as at the same number of hours as Spanish, and we haven't changed that. It's in the Constitution. So that's why we don't have English every day. We can change that, but it has to be a government agreement. Exam design. Sometimes we believe we do the best exams and we don't have somebody else to criticize the exam before we apply it. Maybe we don't give the right instructions. Maybe we don't use the right language. Maybe we don't use the correct words for students. So every time you do an exam or a test, let somebody else look at it and criticize it before you print it and take it to the students. It will give you better ideas of what you're trying to do. Or you can tell them, in this part I'm trying to evaluate this. What do you think of the questions? What do you think of the vocabulary? What do you think of this? And with other points of view, this can change. Before you apply it, because once you apply it, you have to check which is the most incorrect answer you have, and check if it's well done or well presented. Maybe that's a problem. And the other thing that is very, very hard to change is the mandatory school activities we have to do besides teaching. Do you understand mandatory? Okay. Very good. Now, recommendations. Team up with fellow teachers for monthly. We have this in the public school. Every month, the last Friday of the month, no classes, we get together and we plan. It's working. It's making some things better, but this is very useful. Seminar and courses like this, you get to see some presentations, other ideas, see what you need, see what is useful, take your notes, continue your studies, etc., etc. Your research is very important. What you do, what you learn, your experience, that is something that you get in class and you can't get in books. So if you balance all that, eventually your teaching will be better. And as I just told you, writing and developing better tests and exams. Now,
Sorry to interrupt. Can I have a little video presentation?
yes, please. Good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay? Now that we're more comfortable, what do you understand by culture? Here's the image. What is culture? Everything. Everything is culture. What we eat, what we dress, how we behave, the relation with other people, the customs of the family, everything is culture. I did it like this, but I think it's better here in all this small chart. Everything is culture. And we have to take advantage of our culture and take it to the class. The arrows. The arrows over here. No, voy a tener que formar una clase, no se vaya, no van a explicar. Okay, thank you. Language is linked to culture. Spanish and English and French, you name it. Culture is all and every human activity. Everything. From drawing on rocks and caves to dance. You know who this guy is? Have you heard about him? Tell me, who is he?
He's a graffiti artist.
Very good. Do you know who he is? Have you seen a picture of him?
Is he anonymous?
He hasn't been seen. Nobody knows how he looks like. There are some things in internet, but it's not for sure certain. He doesn't want to be pictured so he can have a real life. And he does his work all over the world. And this is just an example, but culture changed with velocity and automatization. So has life. You're going to tell me, why velocity? Very simple. How did people transport themselves in the 1800s? By foot and horses.
After
Horses. What happened with Mr. Henry Ford?
invented cars.
That's velocity. Everything changed.
Industrialized.
And they could just run 30 kilometers an hour. And that was velocity. People were afraid to be in the car. What other velocity happened? Telegraph. You can send a message like that. What other thing came with velocity? Electricity. It was no problem if the light was off. You can be awake with the artificial light. Everything started to make our life faster. And what is the last thing? Computers and cell phones. People can't stand being slow. Even the traffic lights are too slow for some people. They want them to change. Why? Because we're always in a hurry now. We don't leave our house without the phone. 20 years ago, we didn't have a phone. Nothing happened. You understand? This has changed our life very much. Complaints about, this is the other point. Every time we get a class, we're always complaining. You don't know this? That was from last year. You should know that. You don't know this answer? What did they teach you in history? You don't know this? We always complain about who has to teach what. I had the example myself. I was a teacher in secondary school, and then I started in prep. There were 2 years that I got my students from secondary school